Some legacies are forged in gold and glory, passed down like a crown. Others are born in the shadow of giants, a weight that can either crush you or force you to become stronger than anyone thought possible. For an entire generation, the name Seagal meant a brutal, almost terrifying authenticity on the silver screen. Her father, Steven Seagal, wasn't just an action star. He was a phenomenon. Built a brand on the back of his supposed 7th Dan black belt in Aikido, bringing a cold, calculated destruction to his on-screen enemies. Wrists snapped, bones were broken, and an entire era of action hero was defined. Her mother, Kelly LeBrock, was an icon of a different sort, a supermodel and actress who defined beauty and style for the 80s. Born into this impossible intersection of Hollywood royalty, a world of martial arts legitimacy and high-fashion glamour, Arissa LeBrock seemed destined for a life in the spotlight. But a name can be both a blessing and a curse. When the daughter of this Hollywood legend stepped towards the wrestling ring, everyone cheered for the spectacle they expected. They cheered for the gimmick, they cheered for the name. But they weren't cheering for the career-ending injury that nearly destroyed her. They weren't cheering for the years of silence and the crushing self-doubt that followed. And they had no idea about the grueling, hidden journey it took to forge a legacy with her own 2 hands. This isn't just another story of a celebrity kid playing wrestler. This is the untold story of Arissa LeBrock's brutal journey to redefine her name, a saga about fighting through the darkness to earn her place in the unforgiving light of the squared circle. And to really get why her journey has everyone talking, you have to understand the whole story. The shadow of a famous name is inescapable. It shapes how people see you before you even speak. While Arissa was born into fame, her upbringing was deliberately shielded from its toxic glare. After a difficult and public divorce from Seagal, Kelly LeBrock made a choice that would define her daughter's life. She moved her children to a remote ranch, away from Hollywood, away from the cameras, and even got rid of their television. She once said she could always go back to her career, but she could never go back to her children's formative years. Life on the ranch wasn't about headshots, it was about hard work. This gave Arissa a foundation of normalcy, but the pull of her lineage was always there. As she grew up, she naturally stepped into her mother's world. Building a successful career as a plus-size model for brands like Ashley Stewart and appearing on the cover of Plus Model magazine. She even starred on the Lifetime reality show Growing Up Supermodel, which documented the challenges she faced as the only plus-size contestant. She was on a crusade for acceptance, using her platform to advocate for non-traditional body types. But underneath the glamour, a different fire was burning, a passion that connected more to her father's world but was entirely her own. Arissa began seriously training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This wasn't just a celebrity hobby. She became a dedicated and disciplined practitioner, earning a purple belt while competing under systems at Paragon Jiu-Jitsu and even Eddie Bravo's 10th Planet Academy. She was building a foundation of legitimate combat skill. It was this unique blend of her mother's charisma and her father's combat prowess that created a fascinating prospect. The look of a model with the legitimate grit of a martial artist. In December of 2019, the phone call every aspiring wrestler dreams of finally came. World Wrestling Entertainment invited Arissa for a multi-day tryout at their high-tech performance center in Orlando, Florida. This was the golden ticket. She showed up as a promoter's dream, the daughter of an action icon, a model with TV experience, and a practitioner of a legit combat sport. The wrestling world was watching, waiting to see if this unlikely candidate could translate her raw talents into the unique art form of pro wrestling. Arissa knew she had to work twice as hard to prove she was there for her skills, not just her name. She threw herself into the meat grinder of the tryout, ready to prove she belonged. The dream was right there, just within her reach. This was her shot to build a new legacy, one that was all her own. Then, just like that, the dream seemed to be over. The WWE Performance Center is notoriously a meat grinder, high-tech factory designed to push the world's most elite athletes to their absolute breaking point. The drills are brutal, filled with hours of conditioning, taking endless bumps, and intense promo classes designed to weed out anyone who can't handle the pressure. Somewhere in the chaos of those high-stakes drills, disaster struck. While the specific details have been kept private, it was reported that during or shortly after that grueling WWE tryout, Arissa suffered a significant career-threatening injury. Think about how catastrophic that moment must have been. You decide to chase this impossible dream. You leave your life behind. You're on the very edge of a new life. And in an instant, your own body betrays you. The dream was shattered. Because she wasn't officially under contract, WWE had no obligation to make a public statement, and they didn't. Arissa LeBrock just disappeared from the wrestling world. This silence created a vacuum where false narratives took root. The internet speculated that she must have failed, that she couldn't handle the pressure, that she was just another celebrity kid who flamed out when things got tough. The truth was far more tragic. She wasn't a failure. She was broken. What followed was a fall into a very dark place. The physical rehab was grueling, but the mental and emotional toll was even worse. For anyone who has chased a dream only to have it ripped away, the silence that follows can be deafening. It's a time filled with doubt, frustration, and the constant, haunting question of what if. It was during this period that Arissa hit rock bottom. In a moment of incredible raw honesty, she would later share a chilling glimpse into her mindset, stating, "I realized that I had become comfortable in the darkest, worst place in my life. To be in a dark place is one thing. To get comfortable there means you've started to surrender." For all intents and purposes, the story of Arissa LeBrock the wrestler was over before it ever truly began. But a dream can either be broken by the darkness, or it can be forged into something stronger within it. Just when it seemed her story had ended, a lifeline came from one of the most respected figures in the industry, a call from Dustin Rhodes. In professional wrestling, the name Rhodes is royalty. As the son of the beloved icon, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, Dustin was born into the business and has lived his entire life with the immense pressure of a famous last name. But Dustin is a towering legend in his own right. For decades in WWE, he was the bizarre and unforgettable Goldust, a character so audacious and ahead of its time that it remains one of the most compelling creations in wrestling history. Now a veteran performer and a revered coach, Dustin understood the burden of a family name better than almost anyone. When Dustin reached out, he saw past the injury, past the celebrity parents, and past the failed tryout. He saw an athlete with untapped potential and a fire everyone else thought had burned out. He offered her a second chance, an invitation to his Rhodes Wrestling Academy in Austin, Texas. This was a pivotal moment. Arissa decided to leave her life in California behind the modeling, the familiarity, all of it Tango Ellen. The Rhodes Wrestling Academy is a world away from the polished corporate vibe of the WWE Performance Center. It's an old-school, gritty, sweat-stained gym where respect is earned, not given. Here, Arissa wasn't a number in a massive tryout. She was a student learning directly from a master. Here, she wasn't Steven Seagal's daughter. She was just another wrestler learning from square one. This is where the hard truth of her journey really began, not under bright lights, but in the quiet grind of a Texas dojo, rebuilding herself from scratch. Dustin Rhodes was blown away by her dedication. You could hear the pride in his voice when he praised her work, saying she's doing a great job. But this is only the beginning for her. He then made a bold prediction. Pretty soon, the whole world's going to be talking about Arissa LeBrock. Coming from a legend like Dustin, that was a massive vote of confidence. She had beaten the injury, the self-doubt, and the darkness. She was finally ready. The comeback didn't start under the bright lights of Monday Night Raw or AEW Dynamite. It didn't happen in a giant arena. The moment of truth finally arrived in March of 2023, after months of relentless hard work. Arissa LeBrock graduated from the Rhodes Wrestling Academy and competed in its student showcase, marking her official in-ring debut. It happened in an intimate setting in Texas, in front of a small local crowd that knows the sacrifice it takes just to step through those ropes. This was real. This was earned. When she made her entrance, she wasn't a failed prospect or a celebrity's kid. She was a survivor. On that night, she was finally and unequivocally a professional wrestler. Reports from that debut described a powerful and dominant performance. She carried herself with a quiet confidence, a cold, focused intensity that was unnervingly similar to her father's on-screen persona. Her style was called brutally efficient, a statement of intent. She was victorious in her debut match, proving her comeback was no gimmick.
Oh.
She had finally stepped out of her parents' massive shadows and into the ring on her own terms. This is where wrestlers truly pay their dues, a world of long car rides and performing in high school gyms for little pay. She wasn't coasting on her famous name. She was building her career on grit and authenticity, earning her spot the hard way. She is no longer just the daughter of Hollywood stars trying to be a wrestler. She is a wrestler, period. This journey has transformed her from a prospect into a powerhouse. The injury. The comeback, it all makes her a far more compelling figure now than she was in 2019. She has a rare combination of skills: legitimate martial arts background for credibility, the crossover appeal of a Hollywood legacy, and most importantly, a story of resilience that fans can truly connect with. Her story proves that a legacy isn't what you're given. It's what you build. When she was on Growing Up Supermodel, she pushed back against the labels people gave her. When they'd say, "Oh, you're Kelly LeBrock's daughter, you're Steven Seagal's daughter," she would correct them. "No, I'm me." That sentiment is now the foundation of her entire career. The name on her back may have opened the first door, but it was her own strength that kicked down the second one after the first was slammed in her face. The cheers from the crowd are different now. They aren't cheering for a gimmick anymore. They're cheering for a survivor. She started out carrying the weight of two iconic names, but refused to be defined by them. Her path was derailed by a dream-crushing injury and a struggle that would have broken most people. The door to a major promotion closed on her once, but she didn't just wait for it to reopen. She went out and built her own entrance, brick by painful brick. She has actively redefined her family name and her own image, with her own grit. The question is no longer if she belongs in a wrestling ring, but where she'll make her mark. With her unique look, legitimate combat skills, and a story of pure resilience, where does Arissa LeBrock's journey take her next? Will she find her way back to the global stage of WWE to finish the story that began at that fateful tryout? Or will she join her mentor, Dustin Rhodes, in the ranks of AEW, the company that gave her a second chance when her career seemed over? The only question left is, what's next? What do you think is the dream scenario for Arissa LeBrock? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.